Hi, this is Marya and I'm here with JB Rainsberger. We're building a mobile app that he's going to use to record his bowling practice sessions. And we're using Bolt, which is one of these new AI tools that lets you sort of just build your entire app from scratch. And it's supposed to get done real fast. And I think it has been pretty fast. So in our
Absolutely.
last session, we had just finished a feature. It worked, so we don't have to go back and look at that again. But
Yep.
there's one remaining feature I think that you'd like to add, right, JB?
Yeah, so the last feature was very much like a back-end model, just add something to exporting CSV. So I figured that was be kind of a relatively simple and straightforward thing. It was. Bolt did exactly what we expected it to do. Now let's try adding another UI heavy feature. And I'm curious to see how Bolt does this in part because um, this is asking it to do something that is similar to but different from something it's already done. And I'm curious to
Yeah.
see, these LLMs have a tendency to just sort of copy paste stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
curious to see how much copy paste there's going to be here.
Okay.
So, since this is visual, let's take a look at the preview of the app if we can. Where are we here? Here we are. All right, so the last helpful thing. So I have actually been using this app now for a little over a month in practice sessions, and so all the stuff that we've been adding in the last several videos are ideas that have come from real world usage features that I realize you don't realize you want until you start using the thing.
Right.
Um, when we when we run a practice session, and I know the preview here isn't awesome, but when we run a record a practice session, there are all these buttons down here to record various outcomes, and then at the end you can see the recent outcomes, um, at least whatever's there is room on the screen, and then there's an end button. And when we press end, that session goes to the top of the history.
Okay.
All that's wonderful, but now the bad news is there's no easy way in the app for me to look at a completed practice session. Now,
Right.
again, as we've been saying throughout this series, the goal of the app is not to do everything. The purpose of the export feature is so that any heavy duty analysis that requires more than sort of this would happen in a spreadsheet. And my goal is not to add those features in here and make this a bigger app than it needs to be. But it kind of makes sense that although this is a nice summary of the practice session that was just completed, especially when it's still fresh, I might want to go in and take a look at all the outcomes in order just to see if there are any interesting patterns worth noting as I'm sort of finishing off and walking away from the lanes. I don't necessarily want to have to come home, open up a laptop, um, export everything into spreadsheets
Yeah.
just to notice one or two potentially interesting patterns. So that's what I think I want to try here. So I like to be able to just tap this and get like a read-only view of that practice session.
Okay.
And I'm curious to see with those vague instructions what Bolt intends to do.
Okay.
So let's see. Okay, so I want to add another feature. Let's see. After completing a practice session, I want to be able to uh, look at that practice session in a read-only view. I don't. Ah, I very much don't want to be able to record more throws in a completed practice session, but otherwise I want to be able to see the full details of that practice session. All right, let's see how it interprets that. And we're in discussion mode for now, just so that we can see what its plan is before it runs off half-cocked and tries to do stuff.
Okay.
So partly I'm curious to see now. This is one thing that as we've done more of this, I'm starting to become more comfortable um, not over specify or even under specifying what I think I want just to see what an LLM might do.
Okay.
And also, I don't necessarily want to assume that the picture in my head is actually the best picture of how to do this stuff anyway.
Right.
Okay, so accessible from the history screen. This makes sense. Create a new screen. I don't really want to know the details of how it's going to do that, but it would be nice to know what it intends. Okay, so it does say display all relevant information for the session. Makes sense to me. That sounds like what I'd like to see.
Right.
Especially I'm curious to see how similar it looks to the current practice screen
Practice
and
screen, right?
whether there's going to be much room for removing duplication there or if that stuff even matters. Crucially, ensure there are no UI elements or functionalities that allow for recording new throws, editing session details, or any other modification. This screen should purely be for viewing. Love
Right.
it. Okay,
Right.
excellent. Um, Nothing here looks particularly worrisome. So how about let's implement the plan and see what happens?
So hang on just a moment,
Oh,
please.
oh, pause,
Well, it's
stop.
okay. It's okay.
Okay.
Well, oh, that's interesting. What I wanted to ask, so what it's saying is you'll go to the history screen, you'll press on one of those sessions, and then it should take you to a new screen.
That's
That's
what it
the
looks like
behavior that
here.
you
There's
want?
going to be there it looks like, and this is I now sort of know enough like Next and all these um, frameworks to sort of have a clear picture of what this is going to do.
Yeah.
And this sort of reminds me of how it would look in a Rails app
Okay.
slash session slash 23 for session with ID 23.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
let's retry. Let's see what we get.
Okay. Go ahead. Okay.
And so, as we've seen before, really the big thing we need to do is just sort of keep our eye out for when it seems to get stuck, especially if
Yeah.
it just sits there for 60 seconds.
Yes.
Um,
So we've had that a couple times, right? That
yeah.
it did that.
And I did notice a little icon here in the bottom left-hand corner of the preview, the little bolt that seems to indicate that the preview actually changed. So the
Oh,
fact that this is taking a long time is kind of interesting.
yeah, that's
I'm not
funny.
sure if that's okay or not. We're just going to have to sit and wait and find out. Um, there's nothing in the plan here that seemed particularly worrisome. We
Right.
just might need to ask it to do it again. Or maybe it just took a little
Okay,
while.
it's working.
All right.
Moved on to
So
history.
now what's interesting for me will be to see how the navigation works because this is the first feature that we've asked for where the user's not going to go to the screen by using the tabs at the bottom here.
Right.
Um, just, again, the programmer in me says, "Ooh, that's going to be different. I'm curious what it does." Whereas, of course, the customer and user in me doesn't care, just as
Doesn't
long as it
care,
makes
right?
sense.
Just as long as it works.
Now, this is interesting here that it looks like,
Okay. Oh,
okay, I'm not sure what that problem is. It looks like, even before we get to the problem, I see here something about updating the CSV export to include the throw sequence column as requested, and that's sort of left over from a previous feature. So I'm
yeah,
not really
why?
sure what that's about.
That's
But let's
confusing.
see.
Okay.
So what's the problem? Terminal error. It's adding the same code twice. Well, isn't that funny?
So what do you
It's
want to
like
do?
it's trying to add that feature again.
Do you want to do a diff on the code, or do you want to just tell it
Yeah.
that there's a problem or attempt to fix?
Well,
Um,
first let me just take a
Look at the
quick look
code.
at the problem. So I'm pretty sure this is in stats. No, it's not.
If you
Oh, it's
search,
in the
it's probably
CSV.
faster to search for it, right?
Yeah.
Throw
So let's
sequence.
see here. So there's a bunch of these. It looks like it's probably this in export.
Maybe look for throw sequence. That was a.
Yeah, interesting. Look at that.
Oh, there
Just
you
added
go.
the same
Okay.
line of code, exactly the same line of code twice.
So interesting.
Oh, you know what? It
Errors.
it replayed that change.
Oh, yeah. Right.
It added this, and if I look down here, this, it's like it applied the diff
Yeah.
twice. Because that's all it changed on the previous feature was those three lines of
Um,
code.
what do
So
you,
I'm curious
so,
why it did that a second time. Hmm.
so we could just tell it that, the code's broken. Well, it says attempt fix. What if we just attempt fix? Maybe that's the best way, like,
Yeah.
get it to figure it out itself instead of trying to figure it
Yeah.
out ourselves.
You know,
Well, it's just trying
the
to
cynic in
resolve the code.
the cynic in me is telling me that this is some crude way to steal our tokens.
Yeah.
All right, so now, see, and now we got the daily tokens warning already.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
let's take that off to the side. Let's take a look back here around line 160.
I still
So it
got
fixed the
throw sequence.
code, but not the CSV. Look at
Yeah.
that. Throw sequences in there twice, throw sequences in there twice. Well, that's a little disappointing.
Yeah.
The good news is I feel pretty comfortable just fixing that myself.
Okay.
I don't know why it did that. We can just kind of chalk that up to oops and see what happens. It at least fixed the worst part of the problem. You know, the code can run now.
Right.
So let's take a look here in the preview and see what happens. So now this does look tappable. I can see from the pointer there.
Okay.
And let's see what we got. Okay, so that's not great. The throw sequence here doesn't look fantastic, but maybe this will be okay. I'm curious now if we
Is it because
choose
you can't see the full throw sequence?
right. So I'm curious to
Can
see
you
what
actually,
happens if we get one that's longer. I
yeah, can
think we
you look at one
have.
that where it's long and just like see, can
Yeah,
you scroll it maybe? Is it scrollable?
that's what I'd like to find out. I
Yeah.
think so far the longest we have is like 14 throws. We might just have to create one for testing. Okay, so let's quickly do some silly manual testing.
Okay.
So that's actually fairly plausible. That's a plausible outcome where
Yeah.
it sort of, it tried to reuse some of the things it already had,
Right.
and not all of them look great. So the good news is the throw sequence in characters is readable. This is exactly what I'd like. It'd be
Okay.
easy for me to see, and I can look for patterns at a moment's notice. I mean, or at a glimpse, it's relatively easy to see. This is less helpful. The graphical representation of it is less helpful.
So is that not
Um,
scrollable, JB? Can you
it
press and
is
scroll?
scrollable. It is scrollable. It's
Okay.
not obvious that it's scrollable.
Is that something you
Um,
you don't like? You'd rather have it wrap?
um, well, I suppose I'm not convinced right now whether the graphical version of it provides any more helpful information than the text representation here.
Mhm.
Like I'm not sure that the in principle maybe the colors might help me see something.
Colors,
So I
yeah.
suppose if this were down there and wrapped, maybe
Hmm.
um, it would take up a ton of space. I'm not sure it's
Yeah.
actually that helpful. Calling this sequence string, definitely I do not like. But fortunately, that's an easy change. Um, and this is not bad, although the fact that I notice here that this seems to be combining the misses as opposed to misses left and misses right.
Okay.
I didn't ask it to do that. I'm not sure I like that.
Hmm.
Um, and Obviously, it kind of would be nicer if maybe left corners was in the left column and right corners was in the right
Ha.
column. So like there's some
Yeah.
minor layout things that could be kind of helpful there.
Okay.
Um, but I mean, as far as like it seems to be correct is fine. And then there are a bunch of little things that now I guess I can make a decision whether I want to just fix them myself or ask Bolt to fix them. I think getting rid of the graphical, um, getting rid of the graphics here, whatever to call this, um, would be nice. And then let this throw sequence just be the text box with the characters in it. So I think that's
Okay.
something that's enough work that I would want Bolt to do it, and the rest I would probably prefer to, well, I don't have a strong preference. I might even be willing to just do it myself. So
Right.
let's
Yeah,
ask it
because
to do that.
you might say
Go
like,
ahead.
oh, well, I don't want to run out of tokens, so I'll just go ahead and do this myself. Because I think at this
That
point
could be a reason to do it exactly.
you have a good, you have a good kind of like proof of concept for the screen, and it
Yes.
seems to be working, and you can just remove stuff if you want. But
Well,
since you
that's yeah,
have
actually, yeah,
37,000 tokens,
since you mentioned that, that's actually kind of a good point, is that at least I've got it to the point where even though I'm still not very comfortable with React Native yet,
yeah,
I'm probably comfortable enough that removing stuff is unlikely to go horribly wrong.
right.
So the fact that Bolt has generated more than I want um, maybe makes that a little easier. There is one little thing maybe that I'll ask it to do just because I don't necessarily want to figure out how to do it. Let's just see a little UI change.
Okay.
So what do we call this? So um, I like the two column layout for what do they call it? Performance
Performance
statistics or
statistics.
the performance statistics section, but it would be better for left corners to be in the left column and right corners to be in the right column. Please make, not please, make these changes. So first, let the strikes entry span both columns.
Okay.
Move the left corners into the left hand column and right corners into the right hand column. Oh, no, no, stop. I
Oh,
wasn't done.
whoops.
I wasn't done. I wasn't done.
Ah,
Um, let's see. Um, show Mrs. Left and Mrs. Right instead of a single category for Mrs. Similar to corners, show Mrs. Left in the left-hand column and Mrs. Right in the right-hand column.
right.
Oh, there we go. I can almost type. So that's enough stuff that I could figure out how to do that, but I'm not really that interested. And I
Right.
suppose if I wanted to be super, super, super careful, I would take a snapshot now, commit,
Yes, right.
YOLO. Let's see what happens. And I'm sure this will run us out of tokens.
I bet you're right.
And it's really not that I refuse to give Bolt money. It's just that, I don't, we're so close to the end of what we need. I
Yeah.
don't, yeah.
Oh, that's it.
So that's good. If we're at the end of our tokens and we're at the end of the feature, then I'm pretty happy. Let's put you in discussion mode then. And let's see what we get. Almost correct.
Oh.
Almost correct. But
Oh.
again, at least being able to remove one of those should be relatively straightforward. And now I have a nice example that I can look at in the code for how to do spanning columns.
I wonder
So,
if part of that if it's like when you stop it, you're like, oh, I didn't mean for you to do that. I kind of
right.
wonder if it adds some code and then like doesn't stop, doesn't go back.
Exactly. It doesn't
And then you get
undo.
duplicate stuff happening.
Exactly. So it's entirely possible that that's what happened. Okay, so I think now we're at this stage where there's enough here that if there's that the changes that I want to make are either superficial text changes, which are easy for me to do in the code,
Yeah,
or removing things, which is easy for me to
right.
do in the code.
Yeah,
And so even if we hadn't run out of tokens, I think this is a point where I would have said, good enough, let me take over. And then I can figure out how to remove the duplicate strikes bit here,
right.
remove the
The,
graphical
the
throw
graphical throw
sequence,
sequence.
and this little gray container.
Yeah. Okay.
Or at the very least, maybe remove the text from this little gray container and leave the gray container there because it'll be nice for the UI.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the outcome. So now I think it's as simple as taking a snapshot, putting it in the project repository, and moving on. I think notice that at no point did Bolt tell me I was absolutely right,
That's true. Yeah.
which is
You're
maybe that's
absolutely
progress.
right.
I read an article recently that apparently some of these models are actually being changed to do that to be less sycophantic. So
Ah,
it's possible that that's happened since we last recorded.
okay.
But yeah, otherwise, I'm pretty happy with the result. Let's do a little more quick testing here to make sure that that didn't just happen to work by accident. So I can go back
Okay.
here. Everything's fine here. What happens if there's a zero? That's always interesting.
Okay. Yeah. 0%. Okay.
Oh, look at that. No
The throw is
throws.
nice.
No throws
Okay.
recorded.
Wow.
Congratulations,
Good
Bolt. I
job.
think you did a nice job. Yeah,
Nice
absolutely.
edge case, huh?
There you go. All right. I like it. Okay. Better than I might expect from the average junior programmer. So that's
Yeah.
good. Hey, I remember what it was like to be that junior programmer overlooking stuff. That's why I got interested in test-driven development in the first place. All right. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the result, so I think we can stop there. It'll be
Okay.
now
I
just a
have a
question
question
of,
actually.
oh, sure, go ahead.
I have a question. There's that little made by Bolt or whatever emblem
Yes.
that appeared recently. When you have you built the app since then and then reinstalled and all that?
Yes, I have, and I
Does
did
that show
not
up
see
in,
it.
so
No,
that
I'll
does
double
not
check.
show up. Okay.
I'll double check here. I don't believe so. No. So I suppose when I build this next version, um, oh, you know what? Since I'm building from my local Git repository using Expo directly,
Hmm.
Bolt is out of the picture when I build the app to install on my Android device.
Right.
So my guess is as long as we're not using Bolt and Stackblitz to
Yeah.
like deploy to the web, then we're not going to have that logo
Okay.
be an issue.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because it is in the way of the export button.
Yeah, exactly. I was
We've
wondering
already
about
we've already had that problem once before.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'm pretty happy with the result here. Some minor changes maybe to do by hand, one or two more builds, and I think this app is good enough. I'm sure there are some things that we could do to make it better. I know we identified a couple of defects that are maybe not much of an issue, like the timer doesn't actually stop when you pause, that kind of
Right.
thing. But with respect to having an app that lets me record my practice sessions, I think that's enough. I think we have
Yeah.
a working
So
product.
it's a useful, you just made basically you made an app, a mobile app that works for you.
Yep.
It was totally free of charge, didn't take a
Yep.
lot of work, probably
No.
got it done faster than if you did it yourself, right?
In clock time, yes. In calendar time, no. So
Right.
that's about the only thing is that if I really, really wanted to have that app in my hot little hands right away, I would have
Right.
had to give Bolt money for a month. Small price to
Okay.
pay.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Okay. Well, so I would say kudos to Bolt. I'm curious to
Yep.
try other how do we say it? Other kinds of these tools
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. And certainly I wouldn't say you know, I would say job well done. Some minor
yeah,
annoyances, some things that I don't really like. I still don't like we did a little stuff where we tried to get it to generate some tests and got some pretty mixed results there.
yeah,
We might explore that in a little bit more detail in the future.
yep,
Um, And I'm curious to see what happens when we move more in the direction of letting the LLM into the code base, but doing most of the driving rather than letting Bolt or Lovable or any of these other services do most of the driving. As far as getting up and running, and particularly in an environment where I'm not familiar with the framework, and I'm not even really like I'm not a TypeScript first programmer.
Yeah,
Um, I feel like this really does help with sort of that combination of getting an app up and running in an unfamiliar technology and then giving me enough examples that I can read, um, that this was almost as valuable for me as like an introductory book would be on React Native. Like, no offense to people who write those books, but that's always tricky, right? When you write a book, the example is belongs to the writer. It doesn't belong to the reader. Here, it's like sort of having a book where the example belonged to the reader instead of the writer. And if there were a
yes,
magic way for us authors to do that, we would have figured it out by now.
right. I mean, I think that some people do like so I have written, in fact, a book on an introduction to React Native. It's quite out of date at this point. But I think that one of the nice things about having a book is that if you don't have any ideas, and I think a lot of people
Exactly.
don't, you'll sometimes say people will be like, I don't know what to build, so then
Exactly.
it's like it
Yes.
gives you an outline of what to do.
Yeah. And so I think that, since I had something I wanted to build, this was a perfect complement to me. And I think now if I were to run off and say, I think I want to be a professional React Native programmer, um, I know enough to start getting started figuring out what to learn next. And
Right,
then something like a book or an introductory training course would probably be really helpful for me at this
right.
stage. I
Okay.
think instead, what's more likely to happen is I'm going to try building something else with React Native and see, or continue adding some features or adding some tests to this just to see where things start to break down.
Yeah, I'd love to go dive deeper into the test part because as a React Native developer, I did find that quite challenging
Yeah, and
and
it usually
ultimately
is.
not very successful.
Yes.
Okay,
All
well,
right.
so this has been a great experience for me, a fun experiment, and I wish you much success with the continued use of your new app.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, folks. And yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll see you again.
Yeah, I hope people enjoyed this. Thanks.